introduce our speaker today, Dr. John Fulwider. John has been a part of the Lincoln startup community, and I think maybe the first person to ever utilize fused co-working. Is that right? And John always has great things to say. I'm excited to hear about EOS and gear80 today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to him and take it away.
All right, thanks so much, Steve. Hey, thanks. Great to be here. Okay, so it's 2 in the morning at the Crown Center Westin in Kansas City, and I'm in a line 12 deep to get a room. I've just taken the red eye from LA to Kansas City. I've been teaching for 4 days. Day 4 of 4. Man, I start feeling pretty under the weather, but I've got a full day to teach. The show must go on, so I pull through, get on this late night flight, catch the shuttle all the way downtown, get to the Westin where, I have a credit card secured reservation, and I'm 12 deep, and I don't know what's going on. I'm dehydrated, sick, nearly passing out, and I can't even go get a drink of water, right? Because I don't want to lose my place in line, because it doesn't look like they have enough rooms for everybody who's in line, so I want to be sure that I'm the one who actually gets a room. And so man, I wake up the next morning, and I'm not feeling any better, as you might imagine, right? Because not only am I sick, but also I haven't had a whole lot of sleep, right? And this is a big day for me, okay? The reason I took the red eye is because this was in my business. I had kind of finally hit critical mass, right? I had a national practice in executive coaching and strategic planning and team building. And when you have a national practice, it's kind of hard to see the same people more often than once, right? And kind of build that network, build connections and so forth. But here, this was the conference where everybody in the industry I was serving, they were all going to be there. One of my clients was speaking, and so this was a big day for me. And so I wake up in the morning, and I'm shocked to see my horrible visage. Like I've got these red spots like all over my face, right? And they're itchy and they're kind of painful and everything. But my client is talking at 10. I want to be there to support her, so I go. Man, I barely make it through her talk before I have to exit, get back to my hotel. Again, I'm in downtown Kansas City, right? And there's no like urgent care clinics or whatever, so I Uber it out to some random suburb to a CVS. Okay, and I'm in a small room. You know what the CVS clinics are like. They're really small, right? And there's a PA, right, kind of looking at me and everything, and she examines me and kind of asks me some questions, and concludes with, John, I don't know what's wrong with you, but that looks like it itches a lot, so I'm going to give you a topical cream and send you on your way. And I'm just okay. That sounds fine. I mean, and then she's. Then I feel like I actually see a light bulb go on over her head. She's like, well, wait a second. Let me go get somebody. So another woman shows up in a small room. There's 3 of us in here now. And, she kind of pokes me and prods me, asks me a few questions. And then she says, do you think it could be? No, there's no chance. It couldn't be that. It couldn't be that. No, there's no chance it couldn't be that. And then they say, hold on, sir, let me get somebody else. And so now there's four healthcare professionals and me in this tiny room, and they're poking me and they're prodding me and everything. I'm just like passed out here. I just don't care. Poke away, right? But it's getting a little uncomfortable, right? So they go, pss, pss, pss. No, it couldn't be. We've never seen that before. How could that possibly be? Sir, we think you have adult chicken pox. And some of you know what that means. I didn't. You're like, holy shit, that's bad news, right? So I call my wife, who is a nurse and a nursing professor, and she freaks out because adult chicken pox can lead to amputation and death. So at this time, I'm close to delirious. Like I've Ubered it back to my hotel room. I can't think straight. I like meant to take an antihistamine and I took a sleeping pill instead, and it just, I was in bad shape. You know, I had plans, great plans to like build a 3-hour relationship with a key connector because he was going to drive me back from Kansas City to Lincoln. Call that guy up and say, hey, I'm sorry I can't accompany you back, and go to that great coffee shop I promised you on the way back in St. Joe. And so I call my dad, and my dad lives in Lincoln, so he drives 3 hours down and like medevacs me out of Kansas City. Okay, so at this point, you know, I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, and my wonderful wife of 19 years, Jamie. And I've been away from them for 7 days, right? And I need to quarantine myself in the basement for 10 more days. So I don't get to hug or kiss my wife or kids for 17 straight days. And man, that was the end of that for me. So that's kind of how I got here today. You know, itching pustular sores all over my face are what bring me here today. You know, and so here I am. You know, I'm failing to achieve what I want in my business. I'm failing my family, right, by being away from them for so long. Lillian, my oldest, just cries horribly, heartbreakingly every time I leave, right? So I'm failing them, and it turns out that I'm failing my clients at the same time. And so, you know, as you might imagine, the memory of what came first is a little fuzzy for me and everything, but sometime around then, 2 of my executive coaching clients, we had regularly scheduled calls 1 week, and they both said the same thing to me in the same week in separate conversations. They said, John, I just need tools. And so what had happened is, you know, we'd been working on the vision for their organizations and for their leadership team. So the vision was clear. We'd been working on team health, so the team was healthy and cohesive, but the accountability and discipline and execution that were supposed to link the two was absent. And they were frustrated, and they said, John, go find me something. We need to fix this. So I went looking for something, and I found this book, Traction by Gino Wickman. And I'm a pretty fast reader, so I read it pretty quick, and it was like a lightning strike epiphany moment. I said, my goodness, this is the answer. This is what my clients have needed in the past, and quite frankly, I haven't fully provided. This is the only thing I can do for any future clients. And so, as a result of that, it's one reason I made the decision to completely shut down that business and pursue something new. So that was my 3rd business I founded in Lincoln. I'm now on to the 4th. And a pretty big, scary decision, right? But the Lord is good, and the Lord provides. And one thing that He provided was a really deeply moving experience. So imagine, if you will, I'm 3 months past this decision. I'm only working in Lincoln. I'm not traveling anymore. I've promised my daughter Lillian, honey, I'm never going out of town for business again. All right, and so got wood floors in my house and everything. It's early morning. I've got a meeting in Lincoln for which I need a lot of gear. Okay, so got this cart. This would be better if this were a wooden floor, but I'm rolling this cart down the hall on the wooden floor past my daughter's room when suddenly, from behind the closed door, she screams, "Daddy, don't leave." And I realized way too late that my rolly cart sounds just like my rollerboard suitcase. And she thought I was leaving her again. So she bursts out of the room, collapses into tears. I'm a sobbing mess, and I promise her again, honey, I'm staying right here. I'm not leaving. Okay, so I'm on the way toward correcting my failure to my family by not moving around the country anymore. And I'm on the way to correcting the way I had failed my clients by using something far more effective than I'm about to tell you about here in a moment. And, I'm on the way to correcting a failure to my community. And so I got to tell you a little bit about Lincoln in order to explain it and why I love Lincoln so much. So I've lived in Lincoln 24 years. Now Lincoln's not where I came from, right? I've lived here 24 years. You're about to say, well, John, you moved here when you were 1? Yes, thank you. I'm 25 now. No. Been here 24 years, 8 times longer than I've lived anywhere else. So my father was in the Air Force. Moved every 3 years, never had a hometown, a community to call my own. Here in Lincoln, man, I met my beautiful wife, had my 3 wonderful children, got 3 degrees from the University of Nebraska, had a bunch of amazing meals at our great restaurants. Lincoln is everything to me. It's like Lincoln today, Lincoln tomorrow, Lincoln forever. That's what it's all about. And now with what I do, and with my decision to shut down that national business and open a local only business, right? Only working with businesses here in Lincoln and an hour around, I feel like I have finally been able to stop failing my community. Okay, so it's funny that you mentioned that I don't talk about what I do, and it just took me, 10, 15 minutes to get to the point where I tell you what I do, but here's what I do. And at this time, Steve, would you mind handing out not the top one, but the bottom one, the white one? Okay. So what I do is I help entrepreneurial leadership teams get everything that they want from their businesses. And I do that by helping them implement a proven system with a complete set of practical tools that will help them get 3 things we call vision, traction, and healthy. So vision, from the standpoint of first getting your leaders 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you plan to get there. Traction, meaning helping those same leaders execute with discipline and accountability. Remember this piece. Execute on that vision with discipline and accountability. And then healthy, helping those leaders form a healthy and cohesive leadership team. Because as everybody in this room knows, and nearly all of us have experienced personally, leaders don't always get along so very well together. And so the idea there is, with that in place for your leadership team, so goes your leaders, so as goes your leadership team, so goes the rest of your company, right? And we get to the point where everybody's rowing in the same direction, gaining consistent traction to execute on that vision, and moving forward together, shoulder to shoulder, as a healthy and cohesive team. So what I've just described to you is the entrepreneurial operating system. It is laid out in this book, Traction, 4 copies of which I will be giving away to the first 4 people who ask a question. Other than, there's a few people in here who were at an event where a person tried to ask a question like, John, what's your birth date? That doesn't count. Something substantive, although it could be a restaurant recommendation. John, what restaurant do you recommend? And that will get you a book. But so anyway, it's the entrepreneurial operating system, and one of the many things I love about it is that there's no theory, there's no flavor of the month, it's just time-tested principles that have been around for 100 years, and will be around for 1,000 more. And one of those principles, everything in there is based on discoveries made with real life leadership teams by Gino Wickman and then the implementers who followed on with him. And one of those discoveries is that business people, like you and me, most of the people in this room are in business for themselves and have larger businesses than employed people. Man, you're hit by 136 things every day, right? Backwards and forwards, left and right. Things are just coming at you constantly. These little fires at your feet. You can't see the forest for the trees. Smoke gets in your eyes. Well, what we've discovered is that to the extent that you can strengthen 6 key components of your business, those 136 other things just tend to fall into place. So Fred, thank you for turning over. You did exactly what everybody else should now do. Turn your sheet over to the circle there on the back. And so these are the 6 key components of your business. And so what I do is I work with entrepreneurial leadership teams to run them through a proven process that systematically strengthens these 6 key components. So we start at the top with vision. Strengthening the vision component just means getting all of your people 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you plan to get there. One voice, one vision, one team. 2 tools that we use to strengthen that. The first tool is what's called 8 questions. So if you'll take your handout and open it up, you'll see the 8 questions. And so what we do is I just help you and your leadership team discover and agree to the answers to these 8 questions. What are our core values? What really defines us as a people? What's our culture? What's the set of behaviors we're going to expect? And we're going to hire, fire, review, reward, recognize based on those core values. Next up, core focus. Man, what are we better than anybody else in the world at doing, and why do we do it? And let's just stay laser focused on that one thing, because in an entrepreneurial leadership company, leadership team, you only have so many little bits of human energy, right? This is a lot about allocating human energy. So let's allocate all that human energy in one direction and not get distracted by squirrel or shiny stuff, right? Next up, 10-year target. Where are we going as a company? Ideally, this should be something big and inspirational that really tells today's employees, man, things are getting exciting. Things are big. And we're going to change, and you've got to change as well in order to get there. Give you an example from a client of mine. So Bulu Box, a successful startup here in town. They're not really a startup anymore. They're a mature and profitable company. But that company started as a health and wellness subscription box. Great product, right? And they now have a goal, a 10-year target of shipping 100 million subscription boxes. Okay, so as a company whose only product is health and wellness subscription boxes, again, great product. I've used it. A lot of people in this room have used it, but you're not going to ship 100 million Bulu boxes. But one step back, when you change your core focus to building and rebuilding subscription boxes for billion-dollar global brands, heck yeah, we're going to ship 100 million subscription boxes. And the people who are still working at Bulu Box at the shipping, a couple of thousand health and wellness subscription boxes, they look at that and they go, whoa. We're going to have to change. This company is going to have to change. We're going to have to behave differently. So that's 10-year target, and that's the power of that. Next up, marketing strategy. Okay, so how the heck are we going to get there? What are we going to market and sell? Let's just be really specific, and let's define our target market. Who are they? Where are they? And how do they think? And let's focus only on those people. Let's sell only to them, because you shouldn't want everybody. Should only want a few. So just to give you an example, demographics, geographics, psychographics. Demographics for me, entrepreneurial leadership teams employing 10 to 250 people at privately held companies. That's all I go after. Geography, within 1 hour of Lincoln. Really, I'm one of the few entrepreneurs in the world who has a knowable total addressable market. Oh my God, it is bliss. And psychographics. The leaders have to be growth-oriented, willing to be open and honest and vulnerable, appreciative of help, want help, and frustrated with one or more aspects of their business. I'll tell you about those frustrations in a moment. But finishing up with the VTO, and let me tell you why I'm going into so much detail about the Vision Traction Organizer right now. It's because this is a tool every single one of you can use immediately once you leave this room. Even if you're a solopreneur, you're the sole person. If you can get your own self to agree with yourself on the answers to these 8 questions, that is going to give you traction to achieve your vision. And if you are all alone, as I was at one time, what I would encourage you to do in doing this exercise is 2 things. 1, find a buddy. It can be anybody who can read and has patience to wait for you to answer and won't let you move on to the next step until you've answered the first question. Okay, so find somebody like that. They can read, they're patient, and they'll prevent you from moving ahead to the next question until you've answered the previous one. And just go through all those questions, get the answers down, and that will give you traction. So take that away. Please, it's a powerful tool. Moving on, marketing strategy is also composed of our 3 uniques. So I would challenge everybody in the room to think in terms of your 3 uniques, and the way you do that is you just think of, 10 of your competitors, right? Competitive differentiators. When you look at 10 competitors, honestly, me and 7 of them, we all do the one thing, right? Me and 3 of them, we do the one thing and the second thing, but only I do 1, 2, and 3. So what we EOS implementers, that's kind of the name for people who do what I do, what we EOS implementers provide as our 3 uniques is vision, traction, and healthy. We claim that we're the only ones that can give you all 3. And remember, that would have been awfully handy to have 2018 me for 2013 my clients, right? Because I was giving them vision, I was giving them healthy, but I wasn't giving them traction, right? So, a little bit more about marketing strategy, I'll skip that. That then sets you up for a 3-year picture. Okay, imagine for a second you're in a multi-person team. Okay, let's talk to the employers here who have several people on their leadership team. You've got the 10-year target, but that's pretty far off, right? 10 years is a long way away. Lots can change. What we do is we bring it down to the ground in everything kind of EOS and traction. We say, hey, in 3 years, what's our revenue, profit, and measurables going to be? And then let's together come up with like 5 to 15 kind of word pictures or kind of stories about what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel. So the idea is that when we all see it in our mind's eye, we're more likely to get there together. That then sets us up for great 1-year planning, where we again predict how much money we're going to make and how many widgets we're going to produce, and we set in place 3 to 7, preferably closer to 3, goals for the year. Across the 4,500 companies that are running EOS, this system with a professional implementer like me, we find over and over and over again that those companies that try to do less this year actually accomplish far more. So I'll challenge you to do 3 annual goals rather than 7 or 23. But in any event, we bring that even closer to the ground then by setting quarterly rocks. What we say is, in the next 90 days, what are the 3 to 7 priorities for the company? What are the 3 to 7 priorities for each member of the leadership team? And let's do that with laser-like focus to make, about 25% progress on the annual plan, which is about 33% progress on the 3-year picture, which is about 33% progress on the 10-year target. It rolls up and down very, very naturally and logically. It's very German. So I have German heritage. I lived in Germany for 6 years. Like, one of my favorite sayings is Ordnung muss sein. There must be order. And man, you're gonna love the order that Traction and EOS brings to, honestly, the chaos of my business prior to EOS and Traction. I don't know about you. Finally, after we've established rocks, we've got our issues. That's just a safe place for us to keep track of everything that's holding us back, points of frictions, problems, and also to park opportunities. Because there's opportunities that we should evaluate and maybe pursue, but not right now. Because we're working on our quarterly rocks right now, and we're not getting distracted, right? So issues list is a safe place to keep them. All right, rest of this goes faster. That's the first tool under vision. There's 2 tools for each of these 6 key components. Next tool is shared by all, simply getting everybody on the same page. All 40 out of 40 people in your company know the answers to these 8 questions and agree with them. That's shared by all. That's 100% strong on the vision component. Next up is people. This is all about getting people, the right people in the right seats. Right people is core values. That's the first cut. If they don't match your culture, they're not going to last here long. Second is right seats. That's based on the accountability chart, a concept I don't have time to go into right now, but it's covered in the book. So ask a really great question, and you'll find out about that soon. Data is all about running the company on the numbers. Instead of the guesses and assumptions and egos and personalities that drive, kind of information at too many entrepreneurial companies. 2 tools we use to strengthen that. One is a scorecard. We just help you discover what are your 5 to 15 activity-based leading indicators that are going to get you where you want to go. And then eventually 100% strong is everybody in the company has a number. They're all reporting accountable to one number that they know rolls all the way up into achieving the vision. Once you've strengthened those 3 components, if you can imagine, your organization's a lot more lucid, transparent, open, and honest, to the point where issues, things holding you back, just rise to the surface, become easy to talk about at every level in the company. 2 tools we use to strengthen that are issues list and IDS. Those are covered in the book. Next up is process. This is all about doing it the right way, the same way, consistently every time to drive consistency, profitability, scalability, grow your company to any size you want and have fun doing it. And finally, we get to traction. Traction is all about bringing that vision down to the ground. If you look again at the EOS model on the back, you'll notice it looks like a wheel, or if you're hungry right now, it looks like a piece of pie, right? It is no mistake that it looks like a wheel with vision at the top and traction at the bottom. And the reason is that we say vision without traction is hallucination. If you try to achieve your vision without traction in place, man, you're just gonna spin your wheels by pressing too hard on the accelerator. You're gonna overwork yourself. Spin your wheels, not get anywhere fast. Throw up a bunch of mud, frustrate yourselves and others, and that's why I and people like me offer EOS, a complete and proven system with a set of practical tools that's going to help you get traction. So that's what I do. Kind of the last part of what I wanted to talk about today was just kind of some of the things that I've learned in my entrepreneurial pursuits. But I kind of wanted to tune the learnings to your needs. So I'm an open book. Ask me questions about everything and anything. We'll start with you, sir.
Is this system more applicable to a business with several employees, or is it good for a sole proprietor?
It was written for and designed for companies employing 10 to 250 people where those companies are privately held. That said, I am a solopreneur. I have a whole bunch of independent contractors, but no employees, right? And I run my company on EOS. Strongly encourage anybody to use the tools. Not all of them are applicable, because one of the powerful things about EOS is it helps you build a healthy and cohesive leadership team. And if you don't need to build a leadership team, some of the value is lost there. What other questions? Yes.
Has this system been rolled out in other markets? And if so, are there some success stories associated with it, or is this your system that you're bringing exclusively to Lincoln?
Not my system, not exclusive to Lincoln. Started in Detroit. So this guy, Gino Wickman, lifelong entrepreneur, grew up the son of entrepreneurs at the age of 25, takes over the family business, the nation's largest real estate sales training company, finds himself in a bit of a turnaround, spends the next 7 years building up that company to a successful exit at high multiples. At the same time, he's a founding member of the Detroit chapter of EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization. And so in rebuilding his business, in helping his EO brothers and sisters build theirs, Gino discovers that his real calling in life is understanding the art and science of business. So he invents EOS, writes this book, and then a little bit later, people like me join an organization called EOS Worldwide. So there's 186 business owners like me who have dedicated themselves to mastering EOS and helping other business owners and leadership teams get everything that they want from their businesses. We are all over the world. The big concentrations are in Detroit, Minnesota, Chicago, and interestingly, Lincoln, Nebraska, thanks to a guy named Jay Wilkinson. Jeff.
I thought it was interesting how you said narrow it down to 3 goals, because coming into this year, I had our company leaders send me their goals for the company individually, and I met with them one-on-one, and then from that we met as a company, and I told them that if they don't write it down, it doesn't exist. It wasn't until that they started to write out their goals and I questioned them on it that they found that their goals were kind of astronomical.
Yeah.
Have you found that when you meet with companies?
I find the worst thing is when they're too numerous, okay? Because when you've got 23 goals for the year, you've got 0 goals, because you're not going to get any of them accomplished. The reason we say 3 to 7 is because in EOS, there's a lot here I don't have time to explain, but one thing that we challenge you, we encourage you, we push you to do is always believe that simpler is better, less is more, do less, you'll accomplish more. As far as astronomical goals, we encourage people to set goals to hit them. So we're not the aim for the stars and you'll land on the moon type of people. We're the aim for the moon and land on the moon type of people. Chad.
What are the biggest challenges that you face dealing with entrepreneurs with your system?
I don't really have a lot of challenges dealing with the entrepreneurs so much. Okay, I've got a challenge. I don't see them often enough. That's the challenge. I love my clients. I love working with entrepreneurs. In my previous business, in my third business, I was talking to my clients weekly. I now meet with them and their leadership teams quarterly. So that actually is a challenge. I miss them, right? I've got a million personal challenges that get in the way of my personal effectiveness, but my clients are not the challenge. They're awesome.
Imagine when you're talking to a lot of startups and entrepreneurs and guys like that the business is very much like attached to them emotionally, and you're coming and trying to revamp a lot of their systems so they got into the EOS model. Did they ever kind of dig their feet a little bit and just be like, man, I don't know if I'm 100% on board. I see some vision with this, but I don't know if I'm did they have any resistance or feedback? Or they just 100%, yeah, I'm gonna go for all in?
Kind of think back through. I mean, there's gonna be resistance to change in everybody. in a company. That said, the two people at the two people at the top that I typically approach first, are the visionary and the integrator. So typically the visionary is the owner and the founder, and the integrator is the glue who holds it all together. Her external title, his external title would be COO, president, that sort of thing. Those people are usually quite ready for change, and their challenge is bringing along the rest of their leaders, is what I typically experience. Did that fully address the question?
Yeah.
Austin and Steve, would you mind handing out the last handout? Thank you. Austin.
John, your answer to Chad's question actually led to my question here. You had mentioned you meet with a lot of your companies and things like that on a quarterly basis, but for folks that may be interested in getting into the EOS model with traction and things like that, is it more of a, I'm assuming it's not a one and done thing, but it's more of a follow-up, but is it always quarterly? Is it twice a year? Is it yearly? What's
Yeah. So thanks for asking. We call it a complete and proven system. That's where the results are fully guaranteed, actually, because we do it exactly the same way every time. So it always starts with a 90-minute meeting, and so this is an informational meeting for you and your leadership team, designed to throw a lot of information out at you, actually more information than I gave here, go into even more detail, aimed at providing you with all the information you and your leaders need to decide the answers to two questions. One, does this EOS stuff sound like it's going to be the solution to get us what we want from our business? Do we want to run our business on EOS? And if the answer to that question is yes, do we want this John guy to be the one helping us implement EOS? So it starts with that. Let's say you see value in moving forward. Next up is a series of full-day leadership team retreats that start with the focus day. On the focus day, we bring you immediate traction because we're going to get the right people in the right seats by building a solid accountability chart. We're going to set your first set of rocks to get you executing on the existing vision. We're going to put in place a solid level 10 meeting so that your meetings with your team, which most people rate a 4 out of 10, will turn into a 10 out of 10, and we'll take the first stab at your scorecard. Assuming you see value then, there's never any commitments or whatever. We move on to vision building day 1 and 2, 30 and 60 days later, where we're answering those 8 questions and doing a bunch of other things that I don't have time to go because I want to answer a few more questions. And that's the vision building phase. And so tomorrow, Compro, the local health insurance broker that helps small to medium enterprises get health insurance benefits for their employees, they start the execution phase. So they've done Focus Day VB1 and VB2, and now they're starting quarterly meetings where they set rocks, make sure they're still on the same page with the vision, and we have focused time to knock down issues that are standing in the way. So that's all a long way of saying that you work with me for 3 full days over 60 calendar days, and then you work with me every 90 days after that, as long as you want, until you get to mastery and you graduate. Typical client takes 2 years to graduate, but I'm trying to work my way out of your company, right? I want you to master this so you can do it yourself. That said, some people stay with me forever. Yes?
Leadership teams employing 10 to 250 people.
Yep.
Say you're a sole entrepreneur, or maybe you another person. Do you refer them somewhere else, or will you? That doesn't fit the model here that I'm seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are, that is an excellent segue into one more point I wanted to make before I left. Thank you. As a solopreneur, I've been a solopreneur for all 4 of my businesses. I've had various lists of independent contractors. I have a amazing executive assistant right now who is my life's blood. Keeps everything running. But what I found in succeeding as a solopreneur is you need 6 things. And here's what the 6 things are. You need a foundation of family and faith. Maybe not faith, but definitely family. Faith is my conviction. So, man, if I didn't have my faith, and if I didn't have my family, if I didn't have my marriage, none of the rest of this would count. So, step 1 as a solopreneur, man, get a foundation. Step 2, get a therapist. I struggle with depression and anxiety. This is life or death, folks. Entrepreneurs kill themselves at shocking rates. There's a reason entrepreneurship is soul-crushingly difficult. It is make you cry hard every single day. Please, before you spend any money on anything, marketing, an EOS implementer, anything at all, spend money on a therapist. After you get a therapist, get a coach. I have employed business coaches, speaking coaches, executive coaches, marketing coaches. I have 3 coaches right now. There are coaches in the room, including Tracy Johns. Am I missing other? There's a Marshall Goldsmith coach. So employ a coach. You need somebody to keep an eye on you and hold you accountable to hitting your goals. What was number 3? All orange branding. Who has an orange note card? I do. What was number 3? Yes, get a community. So what's cool about the EOS implementer community, there's 136 of us around the world. We get together every quarter to challenge each other to master EOS. And this is the magical part. This is the thing that's going to be hard for you to find, but I hope you do find it. We all do exactly the same thing. And that is so amazing because, like, when a client comes up with a question that stumps me, and that happens every time, 24 hours later, 8 people have given me the answer from their client's experiences. Oh my gosh. It's phenomenal. We all talk the same language. It's a beautiful thing. I've already forgotten number 5. Okay. Yes, get a system, right? So EOS is not the only way to run your business. As a solopreneur, I might actually recommend you start first at a book called Book Yourself Solid by Michael Port. Still holds, get yourself a system, but this is a way to get really more in-depth clear about your target market than EOS provides. So where would I have a solopreneur start? Book Yourself Solid Illustrated Edition by Michael Port. It'll cost you $35 on Amazon. It's worth every penny. And then number 6, get an assistant. Man, if I did not have Heather Simonton, this whole thing would go off the rails. So hire an assistant before you even hire a salesperson because you're going to be so much more effective. It was a long answer to a short question. Thank you for answering it, though, because I did want to get those points out. Yes.
Time for one more short question.
What was his name? Michael?
And I didn't hand out the books, and I don't remember who asked the first 4 questions, but come and grab the books. Yes.
So besides your excellent marketing on LinkedIn, what do you do to reach out to find the clients? So before you had traction, word of mouth.
Right.
Traction.
Yeah, before I had traction, yeah.
So how did you find those first clients?
Jay Wilkinson. So I owe a lot of this to Jay Wilkinson, CEO of FireSpring. So Jay runs EOS at his company. If you're ever wondering why Jay's company FireSpring is consistently on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing American businesses and why they're consistently on the Inc. 500 best small workplaces, the answer is EOS. So he ran EOS with another implementer, Todd Smart, out of Chicago. Jay brought me my first 2 clients. It built based on referrals from there. So how did I do it? Jay Wilkinson.
All right, thank you very much. As is customary, we want to give John a thank you gift, a home sweet hug.
Thank you.
And we did run out of handouts, but I am willing to bet that John would be glad to get you a handout
Yes.
if you give him your card. If you didn't get any of the materials that we handed out and you want them, let John know, give him your business card, I'm sure he can make that right. In fact, I'd like copies, if you don't mind.
Oh.
Thank you for being here. Next week, we have Jeremy Bowman with Defy Ventures, so please come back next week. That's going to be a great one. Thank you for being here. There is no need to run off. You can hang around as long as you like, network, exchange business cards, come up and ask John more questions, but thank you for being here.
Yeah, please.